Hello, America, and welcome to the Founding Fathers March, sponsored by the Parenting Rights Institute and National League of Fathers. I'm Dr. Koziol, parental advocate, and I'm asking you today to join us in this most historic event. It's set to occur on April 20th, 2012, and it's designed to secure reform in our divorce and domestic relations courts. It is a reform effort that's long overdue, and it's one in which our families, our children, are being damaged and injured every day. If you've been to divorce or family court, you probably know what I'm talking about. There you have no friends. What you have there is a group of people anxious to feed off of your hard earnings and assets. Let's face it, as soon as you walk in there, one of the first things they ask for is your statements of net worth. Both mom and dad have to produce their financials. And while they're telling you that they're doing this for the best interest of your child, total strangers, judges and lawyers that move on from one case to the next and probably could care less about your little ones, or you for that matter. What they're actually doing is they're trying to discern how much assets, how much money, how much liquid monies are available for them to abuse, for them to use in terms of gaining all of these, creating controversies and disputes that you don't need, you never asked for. But they dupe you into believing that this is important. It's for your child's best interest, they tell you. Well, that's one thing you need to think about when they say this to you. If they've taken your child's best interest already, without your knowledge, without your permission or authority, they've already taken something from you. They've taken that parenting right. You don't know what's happening. They don't tell you what's happening. They may not even admit they're doing this to you. The fact remains, the reality of it is, they've already seized your children. And then they make you engage in a barbaric contest over these things called custody and support awards. Now think about that for a minute. Awards. Since when do we have awards between family members? Even if you're divorcing and you're separating, you still love your children, I assume, and you want the best for them. You want both mom and dad in their lives because that's the way it's always been. It's the laws of nature. I didn't make them up. The court certainly didn't make them up, nor did you. The laws of nature, the rules of nature, is the processes over time since the beginning of civilization that got us to where we are today. And our children should have the benefit of both mom and dad, wherever possible, so that they can be properly raised with their moral fibers intact, all of those things that go back to our ancestors' days that bring us up today and make us human beings in a civilized society. However, in these courts, it's anything but civilized. You know that yourself. Lawyers are anxious to make controversies that don't exist, or to tell you that these various things they're doing on your behalf that you don't understand a whole lot are important. They're on your behalf. And what they're really doing is they are bankrupting you. We see this going on every day, to the point of throwing fathers, non-custodial mothers, in jail because they haven't paid money to someone or something. Child Support Collection Unit, for example. Reform is not going to happen because they've taken your children and turned your child into a multi-million-dollar industry. The money is so lucrative that anything that you try to do to get in their way will be destroyed. I tried it. I did the right things. I did what a conscientious lawyer would be expected to do. And if you look elsewhere on my site, you will see what they did to me. I practiced law for 23 years. I won major cases. I got a multi-billion-dollar casino, the largest in New York State, declared unconstitutional. I won hundreds of thousands of dollars for victims of sexual and gender discrimination, race discrimination, religious discrimination, retaliation, police brutality. I've represented police officers. I've won cases that many thought were impossible to win. But none were as difficult as this one, because the industry, the money being made here, is that huge. In California alone, we have 300,000 lawyers. Imagine that. We're cranking them up by the thousands every day. These people have to be trained somewhere, and they've got to go to work somewhere. And you are their perfect employer. You are duped into believing that you need these lawyers in the first place, when all you really need is either a parenting agreement, a mediation, or a parenting order if all else fails. All that can be done in a short period of time, provided you folks understand that you need to get along for the sake of your children. But because lawyers know that your egos will rule the day, you're going to lose out in the end if you're contemplating divorce, or you're engaged in it, or in some sort of battle with your adversary over your child. Don't let them use your child for a battleground. That child is innocent Child doesn't know any better. Be the smart parent. Get the reform we need. It's not going to happen if you sit home, sitting on your clickers, your keyboards, or complaining at your bowling alleys and your gossip centers, your coffee shops, your malls, and wherever else you all talk about these problems. It's not going to happen. You're talking to yourselves, and they don't care. The only way you're going to get reform here is not through your politicians, certainly not your lawyers, the lawmakers, and those who are feeding off of this system. It's only going to happen if you take the matters into your own hands. The Constitution gives you this right. And so we have to have some event in which you, the parents of America, are seen and heard, finally. It's not like Wall Street, the protests going on there. This is not a street demonstration. It's not like the Tea Party either, because their interests are somewhat different. It's really a combination of these things. Somewhat like a 60s march, but really not. It's a motorcade. We've done it before. We hope to get you to join us on the interstates of America, converging on the Beltway in Washington, in a manner that has happened before. There is precedent for this because I sponsored it, I suggested it, and it was a tremendous success about 10 years ago. In fact, it was on the New York Times and featured on 60 Minutes, among other media nationally. It was a motorcade that we did in New York State. We did several of them. The largest was about 2,000 vehicles altogether. Another one went from Buffalo to Albany and occupied the New York State Thruway, so to speak. And it was very effective. Completely legal. You're in your vehicle, and each vehicle carries a message. We need that. Over the next 156 days, until day one, we're going to feature a person or event or an issue on our site at www.leonkoziol.com. That's LeonKoziol. Stay tuned with us on a daily basis and learn more about this event. Until then, please join us, get it viral on all this, call your neighbors and friends and tell them finally there's going to be reform. This is the last frontier of civil rights reform left unremedied in America today. I aim to do something about it. And if not in the courts, then together with you, we will do it the old-fashioned American way in our nation's capital. Please join me. Thank you for your time.